everybody, to Fandom Family Chats. We are joined today with myself, Amanda, Jeanette,
Hello.
Shelby,
Hi.
Eve,
Hey.
and our special guest that had a star guest role in Grey's Anatomy on May 20th is Amelia Rico. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're very excited to talk to you. We want all the insights.
Yes.
All right. So actually, Jeanette's going to start us out, and then we'll kind of just have fun.
Sure.
All right.
When did you first start acting, and was that something that you always knew that you wanted to do?
Yes, actually, my when I was maybe 5 or really young, my mom would come into the room and I'd be just like crying in the mirror, just like full on tears coming down my face, and she'd be like, "What are you doing?" And I'd be like, I just turn and look at her like, I'm crying. I'm practicing crying. Like, isn't this like a normal thing everybody does? So yeah, I just very early on, I knew this was my path and I didn't have any other path, any other backup plan, anything. I just knew instinctually that this was going to be what I do for a living. Yeah.
Okay. When did
I
you get
love
your
that.
first role, or what was your first thing that you did?
Well, as a kid, my first, like very first acting in front of people was in 3rd grade. I played the sun in a play about flowers.
Very
So
important role.
yes, I had all the lines, well, not all the lines, but quite a lot of lines that I had to remember. And so that was my very first time on stage. And that was after the crying stuff. So I already knew. And, I kept telling my mom, I really wanted to, be in TV and be in, films and commercials and things. And she had no idea how to do any of that stuff. So I kind of had to build it myself. So when I graduated high school, I went to U of H and moved to Houston, and I started, learning the craft of acting. At the time, acting in theater. But then I really started to go into film. Me and my husband, actually, we met in high school. We're high school sweethearts. And we'd been making, little films. This was, I'm dating myself a bit here, but this was back when we had the VHS, cameras with
Me
the
too.
big VHS tapes. We had bought one of those in high school, and we like made a little, short vampire film, which we never completed. And then in college, we got a smaller deck camera, a CCD camera, and we started making films with that. And those we completed quite a few films with that. And then we just started upgrading our equipment and upgrading our equipment. And then now we have a very successful small multimedia company. So he does, graphic design and video work and cinematography, and I'm the editor and sometimes actor and director mostly. We started out as just, making stuff for me so that I can show my work. And then we started to break into showing other people's work and doing promotional videos for theater and working a lot with actors services, creating things for them so that they can, also have a demo reel. And in acting, it's really this vicious cycle of you can't really get a job until you have something to show that you're capable, which is called a demo reel. But you can't get a demo reel without footage, and you can't get footage without a job. So it's this vicious cycle that we are luckily able to help with our production company. So it's been this sort of stepping stone process of my passion is acting, but in the meantime, I started dabbling into filmmaking, and then now I'm a director, award-winning director, and our production company has won quite a few awards for our short films and things. So I'm able to have found a way while I'm waiting for the acting stuff to come in to find a way to still be in the business. So that has been just a godsend and I'm very grateful for having my husband there and for so long, and him supporting me and helping me and joining me in this in this wild, crazy roller coaster that is show business. But yeah, things have been picking up as of recently for my acting, and 2020 was a very interesting year because not only, was everything put on pause, so at first we lost a lot of jobs because everything was put on pause. So schools and theaters all closed, and those are the two main places where we work as our production company. But then everything went digital. So then all of a sudden everybody needed to hire us to get their productions going streaming or going digital, to be put online. And then also there was a big push for diversity in theater and film and commercials and things. So in that aspect, my acting career sort of took off. And I'd already filmed previous to 2020. In 2019, I'd filmed Yellowstone, my very first co-star in a show, like a running show on TV. um, so I'd filmed it in September of 2019, and it didn't come out until July of 2020. So with that footage, and with that sort of being able to kick up my star meter on IMDb and everything, I was able to get a few other things, which was a Blumhouse um, film that was filming in New Orleans, and Grey's Anatomy, Walker. So during the
Hmm.
pandemic, I've been working nonstop directing. I've directed like 2 plays. One of them was actually in the New York Times. Was favorably reviewed in the New York Times and in the Wall Street Journal, called The Book of Magdalene, and I'm really proud of that one. But
That's
2020,
awesome.
this whole pandemic has been quite a roller coaster ride for us.
I bet.
Sounds like an
I'll have
exciting
to.
one, though.
Yes, yes, very good,
I
very
really
great.
enjoy Walker too. I'm a few episodes behind though, so I'll have to watch out for you in that too.
Yeah, I'm in the episode called I have to remember. I think it's episode 7, and
Okay.
I play a Laredo cop. So it's when they go to Laredo for a bit, for the daughter has like
Okay.
soccer or something,
I
and
think that's the episode that I have coming up next.
yeah,
So that's right
so
where I've left off. So
that's
I'll
to
have
be
to watch
right. Well,
out for
you'll see
that.
me. Yeah,
Awesome.
that was really exciting with Jared Padalecki. He was such a
We
sweetheart.
love
So
him.
yeah, he is
We
a
have,
sweetheart.
yeah, we have a Gilmore Girls group as well. So
Yeah,
we are all big Jared fans.
yeah.
And
I
we
have a
also,
yeah.
oh, I was just gonna say, we also have a One Tree Hill group. So we're big Austin Nichols fans as well. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, I got a lot of followers actually because of Jared. He has a very, very staunchly, like
Yes.
supportive group of followers from Supernatural. So
Mhm.
I got a lot of followers from him because I was able to put up a lot of like behind the scenes photos, and I have this little video of him saying hi to a friend of mine who's like a huge fan of Supernatural. So I got him to say hi to her. And I had this little like behind the scenes like prop that me and him shared and both wrote on. So yeah, I got a lot of followers because of that.
That's awesome. Yeah. We're big fans of his. So that's really cool.
We are.
What was the audition process like for Grays? Was it different with COVID than it has been in the past?
Yeah, so in the past I don't know, I may have gotten an audition for it, but usually you would have to go in person, at least for a callback in person. But um, this one was a full self tape, so I could tape at my house and then send it over to them. And they, they cast me just from the first self tape, so I didn't even have to do a
Awesome.
a
Oh,
callback or
wow.
anything. So and that was like on say I think it was a Monday where we had to turn in the tape. So I turned in the tape on Monday, and then on Wednesday they were like, "You're pinned." Like Wednesday morning, they told me you're pinned, which means like you don't have it yet. They're, barring anything like a named actor takes the role, you probably are going to have it. You're like one of maybe two other, one other person who can get it. So you're one of two people that can get it. And then by the early evening I'd already been cast, so of that same day.
Awesome.
So it was very quick, finding out, like auditioning and finding out. And yeah, it doesn't always happen that quickly, but with TV shows especially, everything happens so quickly.
Hmm. Awesome.
Yeah.
So while you were on set, who did you get to work with or meet? How was all that?
Oh, I was very lucky that I was pregnant in the scene, so I got to like basically have my own little like comfort teddy bear. Otherwise, I don't know how I would have gotten through it, because it was really nerve-wracking, because it was my very first guest star. And I'd worked, I mean, I'd not worked, I'd seen Greg German since I was a child in Ally McBeal. When I was
Yeah,
a teenager, I used to be a big fan of Ally McBeal, and
I love
so
that
I got
show.
to work with Greg German, and that was very exciting for me, to just think of like, when I was a kid, I used to watch you, and here I am
Mhm.
working with you. So I got to work with him. He was also very sweet. Everyone I've worked with has been all the sets and everything. Everybody has been super nice, super welcoming. This is sort of their family. They've been here,
Mhm.
they're set. They know everyone, and so I always feel like the new kid coming in, but everyone is always super welcoming and supportive. And I remember after my very first take, where I go into labor, and I kind of fall into Greg's arms, and they yelled cut, and he just looked at me with that little charming, smile that he has all the time, the little like kind of smirk, half smile, and his eyes were bright, and he was like, "Oh, you did a great job." And I was like, I almost died. My heart just like burst. So I got to work with Greg. That was wonderful. And I got to work with Camilla Luddington and Stefania. So Joe and Dr. DeLuca.
Mhm.
Um, and during my labor, and of course I got to work with the amazing Robert Mesa, who's the new Indigenous intern there, Dr. Chi. So I was very excited to be able to work with not only him but Takala, and actually, this is funny. Nobody on set realized this, but Robert Mesa's father is actually Wes Studi, from The Last of the Mohicans. So
Oh,
he played my grandfather. Wes Studi played my grandfather, and yeah, we were kind of just all standing around talking. It was me, Robert Mesa, and the director Kevin McKidd, who's also on the show, who's also like fantastic. But
love him.
We
I'll,
love
I'll
him.
talk about him in a second. But I have another story about him. But we were all kind of like, I don't know what we were talking about. Oh, we said something about Wes, and Robert was like, "Yeah, that's my pops." And we were like, "What?" And then Kevin's like, "Ah, you're funny." And he's like, "No, really, he's my pops." And we all did not know if he was joking. Like, we were all like, "Okay." And then later I was like, "Are you serious? Is he your grand?" Like, we thought he meant grandfather, like pops. And he's like,
Yeah.
"No, yeah, he's my dad." And I was like, "Oh, really?" I was like, "I did not know that."
Wow.
Oh, that's
I
So
didn't
pretty
yeah,
realize that
good.
either.
yeah, we
Yeah.
didn't know that either. Yeah, so nobody, not even the director knew. So obviously it wasn't like favoritism that got him. I
Oh,
Right.
mean,
wow.
who wouldn't ask for Wes Studi if you can get him? I mean, he's a big named actor
Exactly.
in the indigenous crowd. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, so that was fun. So I got to work with Kevin, of course. He was the director, not as an actor, but he was my director, and he was at the end of the shoot, when we were done and I was completely cleared, he ran and gave me this giant hug. It was like after COVID and all these things, it's like the first time I'd been hugged by someone other than my family, my immediate family. So it was like, it was a little surprising, and also just like warmed my heart. So I was really excited. That was really sweet of him to like be so excited for my performance, that he just
That's
couldn't.
awesome.
He just was overwhelmed. He's very sweet.
He seems like a really sweet man. In all the interviews I've seen, I've always thought, he seems like a really nice guy.
He is like the minute I stepped on set, he was like, oh, he's like came over and introduced himself. He was like, I'm so excited. We loved your audition, and he was just so bright eyed, and like even, with the mask and everything on, I could tell he had a big smile on his face. I could just feel the warmth coming from him. So he made it a really nice time on set.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Shelby, do you have any questions?
Yeah. Do you have a favorite memory from set?
I gotta say, being hugged by Kevin McKidd is probably
That's
up
a good
there.
one.
But right after that, and then it kind of all happened together. So I guess it could count as one memory. But so Kevin came and hugged me, and then he, announced after an actor is wrapped, the director will announce, Amelia Rico's wrapped, and then everybody will clap, and I had already had my phone under, like, kind of sitting underneath me, so that I could pull my phone out and film them all clapping at the end. But with Kevin McKidd coming and hugging me, I sort of that sort of like
Forgot.
flew
Yeah.
out of my brain, right? So so he announced, I'm wrapped, and then everybody started clapping, and then I was like, oh, my phone. And then I was like, oh no, everybody had, by that time was already like winding down clapping. And I was like, wait, I wanted to film that. Can you guys clap again? And then to my surprise, they all started clapping again.
Oh.
Very, like, with the same gusto, and they didn't go like, okay, whatever. No, they got excited and kind of laughed and like all clapped again, and I got to film it, and I put it up online. So that's one of my if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see it on my reels. I believe I put it, or my post somewhere.
I wonder
Check
if
that
that's not the first time that they've ever done this before.
Yeah, they were actually very good about us, like, taking pictures and video and stuff. Like, I got in trouble on the Walker set for taking pictures back, and then, like, the Walker is like their very first season, so I didn't understand why they were so, like, kind of, they were like, the producer came and like talked to me and was like, you can't be taking photos. I was like, okay, I'll delete them. So I've been not as like, I have the photos, but I can't put them out until he said it has to be at least a year or something. I don't know. So I'll probably put some more photos out there in about a year for the Walker set. But on Grey's Anatomy, for it being, not only ABC, which is connected to Disney, but also such a long running show, I would think they would have been a little more. But I guess maybe because Kevin is like also taking pictures, we just sort of all follow, with the lead. So yeah, they had no problems with me taking pictures, with the Grey's Anatomy signage, and
Yeah.
just with all the actors. I got pictures with all the actors, and I didn't have any issues. Nobody came knocking on my trailer telling me to stop, luckily.
I think I see a lot of that behind the scene pictures from Grey's Anatomy. So they must let, a lot of people do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw them on their Instagram. When I started following their Instagram, I saw that they have a lot of behind the scenes photos. So I'm like, oh, I guess it's just like a thing. They're just like, I mean, it's the fans like it, so
Yeah.
it's something
Yeah.
that kind of attracts them to follow them on Instagram. So
Mhm. Nice.
So it sounds like you had like a couple fangirl moments then.
yeah, just a few.
So my next question is, how was it acting pregnant? Like, was it weird for you?
Well, it's a fake belly. And they had um I had to, because there's this time between, like, when you actually film and when you're, like, you're going to your trailer, you get changed, and then you go to like a rehearsal, and then you go back to your trailer, and then you go back for the actual filming. And they're like, well, you don't have to be completely changed for, filming. But I was like, I have to have my belly, because rehearsing without the belly, first of all, it was comforting to have the belly, as I mentioned earlier, but also just because there were some certain things, like certain ways you move, with the belly, that I felt like, yeah, I should probably rehearse with the belly in place. But they made things very comfortable. The most uncomfortable, I think, if I was going to be uncomfortable, would have been for the birthing scene, because I assumed I would have to be like splayed, open legged in front of Stefania and Camilla, right? So I was like, okay, that's gonna be weird. But they made sure they gave me like two shorts, two pairs of shorts to wear, and I was like, okay. But when I got on set, they're like, oh yeah, you could just sit with your legs closed. Lay back with your legs closed, and they built up this, like, under the sheets, like, these kinds of legs. I mean, they weren't real legs; they were just like foam or something, and then they covered it with the blanket so that it looks
Oh.
like my legs are wide open, but really my legs are just like very chastely closed underneath the blanket. So yeah, they made things fairly calm. The only time I did have to kind of have be wide open was at the very first time I'm with the doctors, and I have to be frog legged, which is just like my knees bent but opened, you know.
Yeah.
So but you know, they made sure they had blankets and all kinds of stuff, and the only person who looks under there is Stefania. So I was fine. Everything was comfortable, and they made sure to make everything, you know, to make me feel safe and comfortable. So I
That's
appreciate that.
awesome. Yeah.
Good.
Good. Was there any challenges for this role?
Yeah, well, I give birth during my scene, one of my scenes. So I just had to kind of remember. I've given birth twice, so I kind of I kind of knew the sentiment and how it would go. And I'd actually asked for my second child, we had filmed it, and neither me or my husband had ever looked at it, because that was actually the most struggle I had with giving birth. My first child just sort of came out very easily. She was small. She was you know, slightly premature, not anything drastic, but just a few weeks premature. So she was very small. She was like 5 pounds. So she kind of slipped out very easily. But my second had broad shoulders, and he was like right on time. And he was a little bit bigger. And yeah, I had a bit of a struggle with him. So neither me or my husband ever wanted to see that tape. So I'd asked him to unearth it for this. I was like, "Oh, I should probably look at it and like, you know, kind of to remind myself." But I don't know what had happened. He lost the footage of it, and so I never got to see it. But you know, I'm fine with that because it was quite a trying birthing experience. So I was able to just kind of think about it and remember. And I just had to stay. The most challenging part was staying in the moment, because Stefania and Camilla would kind of start talking like in between takes, and they'd be like talking about their kids and telling cute stories about, you know, their family life, and I'd want to like join in and kind of laugh, and you know how you would with when you're in the middle of two people conversing. And but I'd really have to like remember, okay, I have to stay in the moment, because if I start laughing with Camilla and Stefania, I'll lose it, and then on camera it won't seem as authentic. I'll have to like jar myself
Yeah.
back into the moment, you know. So that was the most challenging, is not being able to like kind of um you know, join in their conversation and have to like block it all out and just think of, okay, I'm giving birth, I'm having a child right now. Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
And then who was your favorite co-star that you worked with?
I have to say I had a really fun time with Robert Mesa, and he's actually I've we've become friends. You know, we know each other's phone numbers, and you know, so I know I can contact him if I ever need anything. And so yeah, I'd have to say Rob has been, you know, he on set, he was just you know, made sure I was comfortable and made me feel comfortable, made me feel at home. And he was fairly new to the set as well. So then I didn't feel so like, you know, scared around him. So I felt a lot more comfortable with him, and we would joke around a lot. And so I gotta say, I had a really great time. And it's nice to have had, you know, another Indigenous actor on set with me at all times, or most of the times he was in most of the scenes with me. So I gotta say, him, as far as like I got really close to him personally, on a personal level. But of course, my heart always belongs to Greg German, because I've known of him for so long, and I was such a fan of his for so long. So that was also, I think, one of my favorite moments.
That's awesome.
All right.
Um,
Awesome. Eve, Shelby, did you have any more questions?
no, that's it.
All right. Eve, do you have any?
I do. Do you have any favorite TV shows that you would just love to be a part of?
Oh gosh, there are so many. You know, a lot of the TV shows that I'm like huge fandoms of are, of course, like done already. Like I used to be a big Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel fan, back in the day. I love Fleabag, Killing Eve, all those kinds of shows have been really amazing. Game of Thrones, of course. But I've been, actually, I've been currently watching Santa Clarita, and I really love the comedy of like the dark comedy in that. So if they continue that, that'd be awesome to be able to get into one of those. But my dream, my biggest goal, and it's not a TV show, and it hasn't been made yet. But my biggest goal, as a Harry Potter fan, would be that they create a spin-off of the American School of Witchcraft, which is Ilvermorny, and that I get to play a big role in that. That would be like I'm manifesting that and putting that out there into the universe to send over to me.
That
That would be amazing.
Yes.
We're big Harry Potter fans as well, so we would love that.
I would definitely watch that.
Yes. Let's all put it out there into the universe.
Right.
Yes.
Good vibes.
We would love to see it. Eve?
Yeah, my next question is, do you have a favorite scene that you got to shoot either while on Grey's Anatomy or maybe even another piece that you worked on?
Oh gosh, that's hard. I fall in love with all of my scenes. They've all been really amazing. I had a really great time filming Yellowstone. That was my very first time on a big set like that. And like I said, everyone made me feel really comfortable. And if you see the scene, it's done during the day, but that's all trickery and and magic, film magic. We were there in the middle of the night, like midnight or
wow.
something, filming these scenes, and they just like put lights to make it look like it's daytime. And I remember being on set, and everyone was just so happy and chipper and making jokes and like joking around, all the like crew and everybody. And I asked one of the crew people, I was like, how are you so upbeat? It's like the middle of the night. Y'all been here since, I don't know, the crack of dawn or something, I'm sure. And he was like, well, the alternative is to be miserable. And we're doing what we love. So why put that on ourselves, which I always took to heart. And I'm like, yes, I love that. I'm going to think of that every time I'm, having a long, day on set or something. Like the alternative is to make yourself miserable. Why would you do that?
Yeah, I like that.
Good advice.
All right. Eve, we had one more, didn't you?
No, I think it was just those two for me.
Okay. All right. Then we have oh, I know what I wanted to ask about. It was a big controversy in The Resident. I think Grace did it as well with the fake baby.
Oh, yeah.
What was your experience with the fake baby?
Yeah, I actually really loved my little fake baby I made. I miss Rosie. It was so funny because it was a little creepy, I gotta admit, but especially when they put all the goop on it, like to to make it look like it was freshly out of the womb. But when I would hold it, like in between takes and stuff, I'd be holding it or whatever, and the puppeteers would be moving its little arms and blinking its eyes, and and like so I'd be like, oh, so cute. So I started falling in love with it because they didn't like stop, they continued on in between takes. So then it started to feel a little more real. So I appreciated that they did that because to me it just lent to it being a little bit more real. But yes, I think Stefania, Stefania was s- saying a story about having a real baby on set. She was like, oh, I'm glad that they have this fake baby, because she had said at one point that she had to because she's the gynecologist or the the baby doctor or whatever, so she had to deliver a baby, and they had cast a real baby, and the mother was standing up, so what she had to do. The baby was supposed to have, been born with the mother standing up. So what she had to do was she had to have this baby who was full of goop that they had filled with goop, and like move it from the floor up to like its cradle or wherever they put it.
Oh, goodness.
And she was like, and that was just too hard because it was slippery, and she was afraid she was gonna drop it. She was like, I'm glad they had their fake baby because I don't want to have to deal with like carrying slippery real babies and be afraid I was gonna drop it. So she was, for one, happy to have a baby. She's like, I hope they continue. But
Yeah.
I don't know, the audience didn't really fall for it, so
No.
they might go back to real babies.
I mean, I see her point too.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
see both points.
I
Nobody
see
can
both
win.
points, yeah. Maybe get her some anti-slip something on her hand. Make her
That would
feel more
make me
comfortable.
really- yeah, that would make me nervous too. I wouldn't want to be
Yeah.
the one responsible for dropping a real baby on the floor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she was none too happy about having to do that for sure.
Boy, I wouldn't be either. How was it on set with COVID?
Things have been progressing for sure, because the first thing like I did during COVID was the Blumhouse film. And that was like, I had actually auditioned for that in February of 2020 and I assumed I didn't get it, but in July they were like, oh yeah, we stopped because of COVID. And I was like, oh duh, yeah, that makes sense. And so then they cast me in like July, and so then I filmed in September. So that was like one of the first projects that started up again after COVID, and they were very strict. Like I had to film 2 days. And because both my days were separate, they weren't like back to back. I had to go to New Orleans 2 weeks before my first day and just be in New Orleans, just quarantining in New Orleans for 2 weeks, film, and then I had to go back home for like a week because they didn't need me, and then I had to go back to New Orleans for another 2 weeks, and again just quarantine in a hotel for 2 weeks, and then film. And then I had to, every day of the 4 weeks that I was there in New Orleans, I had to go and test. I think it was every day, or maybe every weekday, I think for sure. And test, and every day that I was on set I had to test. And so they were very strict that very first production. But for Grays it was a little more lenient. I did have to test like immediately as soon as I was cast, just to confirm. And then I had to test like every other day. I think just on Tuesdays and Thursdays I had to test. And then even if I was on set on a Wednesday, I didn't have to test. I only had to test on Tuesday and Thursday. So that was a lot more lenient. And I didn't have to be, quarantined or anything. I just, can live my life or whatever. I mean, it was better for me to be quarantined just so that I didn't want to chance anything. So I did pretty much stay in place for most of the time, just because of my own, I didn't want to chance halting production or anything. Go to the beach or something.
You don't want to be the responsible one.
Yeah, I didn't want to be responsible for all that. So but they were a lot more lenient, and not like carefree about it, but just it wasn't as strict as it was with Blumhouse. But you do have to wear masks when you're not on visit set, even on set, because the characters wear masks. I had to wear my mask when my character's wearing a mask. But for the birthing scene, I wasn't going to be wearing a mask. So what they would do is I would have to have my regular mask whenever they said cut or anything, or any time in between takes. And then as soon as they were about to start, I would have to take it off, and they would put it in a little container for me or whatever, and haul it away. And then of course when they said cut, they'd bring back my mask, and I'd have my mask on. And if I ever needed water or anything like that, like they'd ask me like, do you need some water? You need a little break? I'd be like, yeah, I'll take some water. They'd be like, okay, everybody clear away from Amelia. So like everybody had to like step, way back from me. They'd give me my water, and then I'd be able to drink my water. So that was fun.
You felt special.
Yeah, that's special. Everybody had to like move away. The queen is drinking water.
Everybody step back from me.
Yeah.
I have a couple of kind of random questions too. What genre of movie would be like your all-time favorite? Would it be fantasy or would it be maybe something else to
You know,
do?
I do a lot of dramas. I just love telling, very heartfelt stories. And I do get cast a lot with like a lot of my roles have been mothers in turmoil of some sort. In Yellowstone, it was about the MMIWG, the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. So we were bringing that into light with my daughter being missing. And with Blumhouse, the Blumhouse movie, which is called Madres. I don't want to give anything away, but that one's also kind of a woman in turmoil in regards to a child. And in this one as well, I'm, giving birth, and I'm, in turmoil just from the whole experience. So I really do love telling these kinds of dramas, but I'd also really love to try my hand at like, which is not too far of a step, but horror movies. I've always loved horror movies since I was a kid. So that'd be fun to go into. Which Madres is actually a horror movie, but it's a Blumhouse horror movie. You know how Blumhouse horror
Right.
movies are. They're very socially conscious horror movies. So that'll be really my first horror movie, but I'm not like the Scream Queen or anything in it. So that'd be fun to be the one being chased by
Yeah, I
axe
definitely
wielding somebody.
I enjoy horror films, and I really
Yeah.
love Blumhouse films too. So I'm definitely
Yeah.
going to have to be on the lookout for that one that you've mentioned.
Yeah, it's called Madres. It should come out,
Okay.
I'm assuming, in October. It's going to be on
Okay.
Amazon Prime. I know last year they did like 4 Blumhouse films on Amazon Prime for like the Halloween season, and so I'm assuming it'll be like the second anthology for that little Amazon Blumhouse thing that they have going on.
Okay. I'll have to look out for that. Definitely.
Yeah, Jeanette's definitely our
I love horror movies.
Yeah.
movie buff. What is your all-time favorite movie?
My all-time favorite movie, well, since I was a kid, The Little Mermaid, if you're gonna count that one. But I also love Moulin Rouge is probably at the top of the
Oh.
list. And a movie called The Fall, which not very many people know, but it had Lee Payson, who's a fellow Houstonian. But that was a really beautiful movie. So if you ever come across it, it's called The Fall, and
Ooh.
it's Spike
I'll look it up.
Jones, I think, produced it or something.
Oh, cool.
It's
Yeah,
really
I'll
cool
have to
movie.
look it up. I'm always looking
Yeah.
for new stuff to watch, as
Yeah.
Yeah.
all these people know.
Yeah, I love those kind of movies that kind of have like a reality, and then they have like a fantasy that kind of they're parallel to each other. So it's one of those kinds of movies. Oh, Eternal Sunshine. Oh, I love Eternal
Ooh.
Sunshine. But that kind of like where there's a reality and like this fantasy or a sub reality that kind of
Yeah.
run parallel to each other. I love those kind of movies.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Jeanette, you had another question?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, like, so how did you hear about this role? Was it just something that like an agent brought to you, and like what drew you to want to take on this role?
Yes, actually, during 2020, right before Yellowstone came out, I reached out to an LA agent that I had researched and realized that she represents a lot of people in LA, and a lot of them work and do co-stars and guest stars and all kinds of shows. So I made sure, you have to do your research when it comes to agents. So I did my research, and I contacted her, and I let her know, I'm an Indigenous actor, and I'm going to be in Yellowstone. I hope you'll see me. And from there, she reached out to me and interviewed me and took me on as a client. So I already have an agent here in Texas, and then she took me on. So worldwide. So I'm able to get now more opportunity with her because she does a worldwide gamut, and with my Texas agent it's mostly like I've been getting a lot of like Fear the Walking Dead and things that film like in maybe Georgia or something, as far as Georgia, but mostly a lot of stuff that films in Texas. So then with her, I was able to get Grey's Anatomy, and you have to be in California to get well, at the time because of COVID. So she made sure that I was in California for these certain amount of weeks, and that I was able to take on that role. But yeah, one of the first things she told me was like, okay, well, I can represent you, but you have to be, ready to fly to, to California the minute I tell you. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. I've been waiting, quite a long time for these opportunities. So I'm ready, willing, and able to go and take it when it comes. So luckily, I've been able to get a lot more opportunity with her as far as worldwide, as I mentioned.
It's amazing. I'm also in Texas, so
Yeah.
hello.
Yay. Hello, fellow Texan. Yeah.
I think Shelby, do you have another question?
I do. I don't know if you'll be able to answer this or not, but I noticed on Grey's, like some people wear the actual like surgical masks that are just on your face, and then some of the people wear those like big hood things that have like the black things in the back. What's the difference, and do you know why they like some of them are different?
I think I think they probably just have the other masks depending on like the situation that they're in and the scene. But those hood ones, I actually do have a story about about it. Because if you notice that they have like the little mic, and I was like, is that mic to just pick up y'all's audio? For because if they had the mic anywhere else it would be muffled. And they were like, actually, yeah, they had a hard time figuring out how they would pick up our audio, and this was like she was like, I don't know who had answered it. I think it may have been Camilla. They're like, I don't know how they are explaining it in the show as to why we have this mic. I was like, you know what, the very first time I watched the season, I started watching season 17. I noticed the first time I noticed the mic actually was with Meredith answers the phone at one point, and she just sort of like clicks on her like belt or something, and then she's talking. So I always assumed, oh, the mic is there like in case they have to talk to each other. They have like their phone mic, like a Bluetooth mic for their phones. And so
That
I
makes
just always,
sense.
as an audience, assumed that's what the mic was being, kind of explained away as. But as an actor, I was like, oh, I'm pretty sure it's the mic that's picking up their audio. So I was
Yeah.
able to kind of just, enjoy it as an audience and like explain it away as an audience member, but also kind of know exactly what it was really used for. But I think mostly it just depends on the scene if they want them to be, I think when they're like in surgery or around patients, they're mostly wearing the hood.
And you
Yeah.
mentioned watching seasons. Were you a Grace fan before this, or was this something?
No, I had never watched Grey's Anatomy
Okay.
actually. So as soon as I had auditioned for it, I started watching, season 17 just to kind of get an idea of the feel of the type of acting, because each each show is different. So you can't really like go big or go too small
Right.
on certain films. Or certain shows. So I had to make sure I, had the right acting style when I auditioned. So I watched like maybe the first episode, and then I just kept watching it because it was so good. And then I
Yeah.
got cast, so that worked out. Then I just binged, quite a few episodes to be caught up. And then
Do
to
you
know
think?
all the actors' names, and all the actors' characters' names.
Yeah. Do you think you'll go back to the beginning and watch all of it now, or
It's quite a lot of scenes.
it's a lot?
But yeah, I'm curious because they're, right now the main group of actors are like not even the same at all
Yeah.
from the first. So I didn't feel like I had too much to catch up on. I do feel like I should watch season 16 for sure, because there was, some reference to things that had happened in the past, and I'm like, I don't know what happened in season 16, but I think I'm not too far behind with the set of actors or the set of characters that they
Yeah.
have currently.
It's a big commitment.
It
I
is.
watched all. I started just around this time last year, so within a year, I watched the whole
All
thing.
episodes. Wow.
Yeah, it was that's all I did. It consumed my life for a year.
Yeah.
I'm
But yeah.
starting my rewatch very soon, and I've been putting it off for a long time because I think the last time I watched it all the way through like that, I binged it. They were on maybe season 8 or 9, so it wasn't too much to catch up to.
Yeah.
Now it's
So,
doubled. Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a lot.
gonna be a lot
It's
of
a big
work.
commitment. A big
Yeah.
commitment. Yeah.
I'm on my third rewatch.
Wow.
So. Shelby, I think you're close to me, aren't you?
My second time was when I started with Jeanette, but then I got mad and stopped. There's always like a point. There's a certain point after I get to, I think it's like season 6 or 7. I get mad and then I just don't want to watch it for a while.
Just keep going.
Yeah. There's
I'm
always
just
that
like
I'm on
season.
my third run around, but I'm on season 12.
Yeah. I have a friend too who's watched them multiple times. And so when I was putting out clues as to like, oh, I've been cast on something big and it's a show, I think I had to put like it's a long running show and it's not SVU or it's not Law and Order. And so she messaged me right away and she was like, it's a Grace. It's either Grace or I forgot what the other one was that she had said. And I was like, I'm not telling you. And she was like, oh my God, you better tell me if it's Grace. She was like so like over the moon. She was like, I've watched Grace like multiple times. I'm a huge fan. Please tell me. And so I ended up telling. I was like, yes, it's Grace. I was like, don't tell anybody. That was before I'd started filming. But yeah, she was over the moon, very excited for me. She was like, oh my God,
bet.
I love Grace.
I'm
Yeah.
like, I want to go with you. Nobody can see me. I'll like hide something.
Yeah.
Bring me with you.
Yeah, one of the body parts. Yeah, there's this hallway of like body parts. And I was telling Rob, I was like, that's creepy. And he was like, oh yeah, just don't go into the room. There's like a room of all these body parts. He was like, I was like, so this is not a set you'd want to visit at night. And he was like, no. He was
Wow.
like,
Sounds like it.
all kinds of
Oy.
body parts
Boy.
everywhere.
Who is the
Mhm.
funniest on set?
Rob has this like very dry sense. That's why we didn't know if he was joking about Wes Studi being his dad, because he has a very dry sense of humor and very like where you don't know if he's joking or not most of the time. But he was really fun to talk to. And I gotta say, Takala had so many stories that half the time I was like, I don't know if I believed him because there were just such wild stories. And then I was just like, okay, well, I'm just gonna go along for the ride. But he had some great stories, very, very wonderful yarns to spin and pass the time with. So he was fun.
I love it. Eve, do you have another question?
I did. Do you have a favorite actor or actress that you would love to get the chance to work with on just anything?
Oh gosh, there's so many. Since I was a kid, I was a big fan of Jonathan Taylor Thomas. So that was like my, when I was a kid, I would like manifest like, oh, if I could be in like a movie with John. So I'm still waiting for that to come into fruition, because I manifested it since I was like 8. So I'm assuming
It's
that'll happen.
bound to happen.
It's bound to happen, right? And even though he doesn't do a lot of film and theater anymore, film and TV anymore, he does every once in a while. So you never know, our paths may cross.
Love it. Jeanette, do you have any more questions?
I think that's all I had.
All right. Shelby?
Just, is there anything else that you like anything else interesting that happened when you were on the set that like fans would like to know or anything like that?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. I can't remember one of them that I thought of while I was talking to you guys, but one of the stories with Stefania was so when you go on set, they tell you, oh, this is your trailer, blah, 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 right? So I go to my trailer and it's just like usually your name's written on the door, like pretty big on like a piece of paper or something, but they just had it like kind of small on a piece of like gaff tape or like duct tape or something on the side of the trailer. So they're like, yeah, this is your trailer. So I went to my trailer, everything was fine. well, the next time I was on set was like maybe a week later. And I went to my trailer and I was in there and I was like, I was just sort of sitting there and like going through the lines and getting into the headspace, and someone comes in and I'm like, or like opens the door and I'm like, oh, hold on. So I had to put my mask on, and I didn't recognize them. I didn't know who it was. I assumed it was like somebody working, and I was like, oh, you can come on in. And she just looked at me and she was like, isn't this my trailer? It was Stefania. And she was looking at me like, isn't this my trailer? She was like looking at the piece of paper. And I was like, oh, what? Oh, is it? And I was like, this was my trailer last time. And she's like, oh yeah, they change trailers all the time. Like they have a set of trailers, and they, depending on who's on set, they arrange who's in what trailer. And I had no idea. I assumed they'd have me in the same trailer as I was the first time. So I was like, oh my God, I am so sorry. So that was like the first time I met Stefania, and she was very sweet about it. She's like, oh no, it's okay, it's okay. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I was like getting all my stuff. I felt like such a fool, like my tail between my legs. Like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. But she was like very sweet. She was like, no, it's fine. And then she's like, it's an honest mistake. I was like, I didn't even look at the little tape or whatever. I just walked in and like made myself at home in Stefania's trailer for a little while. But I was wondering, I was like, where's my belly? It's usually here. That's why I thought it was somebody coming in to bring my belly in, but it was because it was Stefania's trailer. So
Love that.
but she was sweet about it, so it's not an issue. Luckily, did not make me feel too much like a fool.
Thank goodness. Eve, do you have one more question?
No, I think that was all of mine.
All right. Can you tell us a little bit about, not digging too much into it, but can you tell us a little bit about your personal life? You have kids?
Yeah. Like I said, I married my high school sweetheart. And we have 2 kids. And their stage names are actually Apollo and Artemis. They do some commercials and things. My daughter Artemis, she was recently in like this Clorox like industrial. So I'm excited to see if any of her teachers or anything recognize her, because it's for schools. Like it'll be sent out to schools and things. So that'll be fun next year to see if any of her teachers recognize her. I've actually had a lot of I was in an industrial for like sexual harassment or for some kind of like sexual conduct or something on in the workplace. And so I get a lot of my friends who work 9-to-5 jobs, or normal jobs, who will every once in a while be like, oh my God, I saw you in this video I had to watch for my job. And they'll send me like shots. I was like, oh, I still haven't even seen it, because I'm not, I don't work this kind of job, so I've never seen it. But yeah, I'll every once in a while get friends who see it just randomly and about to do something that they have to do for work, and they're like, hey, I know that girl. So yeah, and like I said, we have a small production company, and we make films. And actually last year during COVID, because we were kind of bored and trying to find some kind of creative outlet, we created this little web series for my daughter called Artemis Reviews Films, which you can find on YouTube, Artemis Reviews Films. And she'd review like old movies, like our favorite films when we were kids, like
Old movies.
she reviewed Edward Scissorhands. My favorite is Batman 1984. And then she'll dress up as some of the characters. Like for Batman 84, she dressed up as the Joker, and oh my gosh, she's hilarious. You definitely have to check that out. She's too cute.
Did she enjoy the films? Because I have a daughter who's almost 10, and a lot of times when I let her watch stuff, she's like, ugh. I don't want to watch these old movies.
Yeah, she's only she's just turned 8, so at the time she was like 7 when we started doing that. So then I caught her right before that sort of age.
Right.
Like,
yeah. I got her to watch
so
the
she's still
Goonies.
Excited.
We did watch the Goonies, and she liked that one, so she approved on that one.
That's a good one.
Yeah, she keeps wanting to do the Goonies. We haven't picked it back up because, like I said, 2020, like all of a sudden everything started sort of snowballing and we got too busy to do
Yeah.
more. But so we just did Edward Scissorhands, Wizard of Oz, and Night 84. So Batman 84. So then she's excited, and the next one she wants to do is the Goonies.
That's fun. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
Love it. Is there a certain actress or actor that you look up to?
There's so many. I love Kate Blanchett. I just love her, sort of statuesque.
Yeah.
She puts so much like poise in all of her roles. And of course, I'm a big fan of Salma Hayek. I just feel like her journey has been through this whole thing has been so wonderful to be able to like start off in a certain way and then sort of she just does her own thing and is now producing stuff and accepting roles that she she wants to do and not just like, oh, they're painting me to be this kind of character and I have to do that.
Yeah.
So I appreciate her kind of journey. But yeah, there's so many I could talk for ages about actors.
um, do you have any projects coming up that anybody can look out for?
Yeah, with my production company, we are currently working. Well, our big goal is to just create diverse films for the general audience. So, it's not necessarily like a chick flick, it's an all-female cast, but, anybody can enjoy it. Or, it's not a film, a Latinx film where, it's just that niche group. It's everyone can enjoy it. So, one of the films we're working on currently is an Asian has Asian actors, and it's about mental health. And so I'm really excited for that one to come out. It's called Postal. It's actually being produced by an actor who has hired us to produce it for them. And so I'm excited about that one coming out soon, hopefully. We're just working on post sound for that. So it's a short film, so it'll just be in the festival market likely, and it'll be up on IMDb. And of course, the Blumhouse film will be coming out soon. And I'm actually also a writer, so I write a lot of films. And one of the films that I'm currently writing is a indigenous film about a woman who's kind of dealing with um, also mental health, but also just like rape and that kind of issues. So like I said, I like dramas. So it put a woman in turmoil and I'm all there. But I also want to do a comedy. There's actually a comedy that I wrote called Zombie FFs. And that's kind of my baby, like the one I've been dealing with for so long, and it's my very first feature that I wrote. And so that one I'm hoping to, that's the one that I've been sort of one day, baby, we'll show the world one day. But that one's a comedy, all female comedy. My dream cast would probably be like Tiffany Haddish and Rose Byrne. I love Rose Byrne. And, what is her name? I can't remember her name. Oh, Aquafina.
Oh,
Somebody,
I love her.
just like, yeah, very, very great comedic chops. Somebody who's just like can take this kind of this script, this really fun script. So all, like I said, all female horror comedy. So like, what else could you want?
Oh, yeah. Have you strictly written scripts or have you written any books?
Oh no, they've just been scripts, but I wrote a short story for actually a book club that I belong to. We decided to like write a short story for each other. And from that short story, I think I'm gonna probably make it into a script. But or I can make it into a book. It's actually kind of based on my life. So it's very personal. And so there's quite a lot that I can extend it to. Maybe it'll be a novel. We'll see.
Oh, I love that. Speaking of books, do you have a favorite book? I love
Well,
reading, so.
like I said, I'm a big Harry Potter fan. The J.K. Rowling, her works have been. I know she's not in favor right now, but but I love all of her works after Harry Potter. She did the Strike novels and um, I don't know if you read the film she did immediately after called Casual Vacancy. That one is a dense read and it's a tough read, but I think it does give a lot of dialogue. Opens up a lot of room for dialogue as to just social justice and kind of how it is in the world and just being a good human being and not being a good human being. And one of the heartbreaking things for me is that they made it into a series in oh, I don't know, in the BBC, whatever, somebody did it into a series. And they like changed so much of it that it like kind of changes the whole story. Like they first of all, the very ending is like completely not there. They changed the ending completely, to where I'm like, why did you even produce this book if you're not even gonna, if you're too scared to give that end, because the ending is so horrific. It's just so heartbreaking.
Mm.
I'm assuming they didn't want to do it because they thought it'd be too bad, too horrible to do. But then don't produce that one because it is a really bad. It's just that's the way the book is. It just leaves you like in tears and just heartbroken. And some books need to do that. You
Oh,
need to have
yeah.
an outlet, to
I'll have to
to
check that
cry
one
those
out.
tears. Yeah.
Yeah. I
It's
don't think
it's
I've
a
heard of
hard
that one.
read. Yeah, it's hard. The reason I was so excited for the series is because the reason it's so hard is there's so many characters, because it's like this whole like it's based in this whole small town. So there's so many characters, and one thing that I knew would help would be having actors, fill those characters so that you can differentiate them, because a lot of times you'll be like on chapter 20 and you'll be like, who's this character? I have to go back and like remind myself who this character is. So yeah, it's a tough read. So do it when you have a lot of time on your
When I
hands.
have time.
Yeah.
So after the kids go back to school
Your
is what you're saying.
copious time, I'm sure you have. Yeah.
Do you prefer acting or writing?
I love acting. Like that has just been, as I said, my goal since I was a child. So I love being able to tell stories through, myself as the instrument. And writing was sort of something I started doing as a necessity, and then just realized how much I love it and how good I am at it. It's one of those things where like you don't realize the gifts you have until you really are backed up against the wall, and then you realize, oh, I could just go through this doorway. There's a doorway right there. I didn't realize. So writing has been this sort of like you know new thing that I discovered, well, not recently, but when I realized acting was going to be a harder challenge. um and I've just grown so much as a writer. I started off writing, stuff not only for myself but stuff for kids, because I used to work at a summer camp. And I worked a lot with kids, and we had to like write a little play for these kids. And kids want to be all kinds of crazy things, like I want to be a puppy, I want to be a queen. I had this one student who wanted to be a banana ninja, and I thought, banana ninja, like that's not gonna, no, you cannot be a banana ninja. And then eventually she wore me down. I let her be a banana ninja, and she stole the show. So, I learned a lot from these kids, that, not, and there's just no idea that's too crazy if you really put your mind to it and you love it, the audience feeds off of that. So I learned quite a lot through my through teaching these kids, because they taught me really.
Mhm.
That's great. I
That's
love that.
awesome.
Um,
All right.
I have another question, if you don't
Go for
mind,
it.
Amanda.
No, go for it.
Um, so we interviewed another gentleman from This Is Us, and he was telling us a little bit like about the traveling and things like that. And he actually takes his kids with him when he travels. And I was wondering, do you take your kids with you too, or is hubby in charge when you go out of town?
Yeah, my husband has been great about, yeah, he takes the kids. He's actually like kind of the caretaker of the house. So because I work a lot on editing and writing and behind my computer in our home. So even though I'm home, I'm always doing some kind of work. So he's been, taking the reins as far as, making sure the kids are fed and, and the dishes are, well, I do the dishes mostly, but other things like the housework and stuff. So he's been great as far as like, if I have to get up and go, he has it together. He's not one of those, luckily one of those men who's like, what am I supposed to do without mom there? So we really are a team, and so it's quite easy for him to all right, well, I mean, it's not easy. It's still quite difficult not
Right.
to have me there as a backup plan, but he can take it up and is very supportive and very happy to do it, of course.
That's
Good.
great.
Awesome.
That's great. We're the same. I'm the same way. Me and my husband
Yeah.
we really tag team it. We're good at
Yeah.
Not everybody
Although
can be, but
Yeah, but although he always says like because I know I auditioned for like two things. One of them was in New Zealand, and one of them was in it was actually that Jennifer Lopez, that Army Hammer was supposed to be in it, but due to unforeseen
Yeah.
circumstances,
There's
he's no
issues
longer in
there.
it.
Mhm.
I auditioned for that as well, which was going to be in like the Philippines, I think, or so all these like exotic places I've been auditioning. So, and I'd actually gotten pinned for the one in New Zealand. It was right before COVID. And so he keeps on saying, "Oh, if you get something like that great, we're gonna have to figure it out because we're gonna want to visit you or go with you." So so
Oh
hopefully
yeah.
maybe one day I'll take them all with me on some exotic vacation paid for by some show.
yeah, exactly. That'd be great.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's hard for them being away from you for that long too.
Oh yeah, I every day I'll call and do a video call or help put them to sleep. I know when I was in New Orleans for those 2 weeks, I took because I read Harry Potter to my daughter, so had taken the books because she was like, "Take the book so you could read to me," because she didn't want to miss
Oh.
2 weeks of reading. Because I read to her every night, so I took the book so I could read to her on over Zoom to put her to bed and stuff. So yeah, I do every day still contact them and have some sort of video chat with them or put them to bed or do something so that they don't forget me.
Right.
But no, yeah, they're very excited to see me whenever I get back, especially our dog because we have a dog, Ruby. She gets crazy whenever I come home, even if I'm just gone for like an hour. You know how
Mine
dogs
is the same way. Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
The excitement level doesn't change.
Yeah,
Right.
no, it doesn't.
All right. Does anybody else have any more questions?
I mean, I don't have a question, but I didn't know if Amelia, do you want to like give a shout out to some of your social medias where people can follow you and
Yeah.
keep up with what you're doing?
Yeah, sure. I'm mostly on Instagram, which is at Amelia_Rico_films. But I'm also, you can find some behind the scenes photos on my Facebook, which is at Amelia Rico Film without the S at the end. Or it might be amelia.rico.film if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, if you just I'm sure find look Amelia Rico up, you'll find me. But I have my website as well, ameliarico.com. So it's AMELIARICO.com. And you'll find all my social media handles there, as well as some samples of my work, some real samples, all kinds of, and you can find what's coming up in my life, my blog and things are on there as well.
Awesome.
Awesome.
That's
And we'll
great
put
way.
that in the
Okay.
link as
Oh,
well,
awesome.
where they can find you.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Well, that's all we have for you on Fandom Family Chats. Let us know what you think. You can reach out to us on our email, fandomfamilycubs@gmail.com, or on our Facebook group, Grey's Anatomy Grey Family Fan Club. You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram and all those fun things. They'll all be in the description. Just remember that the more feedback we get, the more viewers we have, the better on our ratings, and the more fun content we can bring you. And that's it. Everyone say bye.
Bye.
It was really lovely speaking with you.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you for being
Bye.
with us.
Of course.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.